So, welcome to this community reporter session. I'm absolutely delighted to have Matthew Roche here. I'll let Matthew introduce himself.
So thank you very much, Jen. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be with you. So my name is Matthew Roche. I'm a program manager on the Power BI CAT team, or customer advisory team at Microsoft. I've been with Microsoft for around 10 years. My 10-year anniversary is actually the week after next, so it's early October. Over the years, I've worked on Power BI, Azure Data Catalog, SQL Server integration services, master data services, and data quality services. So there's a real trend here, a real pattern here. Just deeply passionate about data and the management and governance of data. So your data is an ingredient that can bring joy or pain depending on what you do with it. And making sure that the Microsoft Data Platform and Power BI have the capabilities that big customers need to manage and get the most from their data is something I care deeply about.
Oh, that's great, because I know you're helping lots of customers with the Power BI CAT. So I wondered if you could tell us what the Power BI CAT team actually do.
Yeah, so
Where the team
well, the thing that I was most disappointed about when I joined the CAT team, I then learned that there weren't actually any cats, so I have to bring my own cats. But the customer advisory team basically serves as the voice of the enterprise customer for Power BI. If you look at Microsoft in general, a lot of the quote-unquote customer success teams are actually part of the sales organization. So they're there to help customers succeed, so that we can, so that the sales organization is successful. We're primarily engaged with customers that are already major adopters of Power BI to make sure that they're successful in how they're using the Power BI licenses and capabilities that they've already purchased. So a lot of times we will engage through a customer escalation. So the account team will bring us in when they're having challenges. They're trying to do something and they're not sure how. We might do an architectural design review or a similar thing like that. I feel that I'm one of the least technical people on the team, so your viewers will probably be very familiar with Adam Saxton, who's sort of the famous member of the team. Adam, Olivier, Casper, Sergey, all of the members of the team have just deep experience working with the product, and multiple team members have been part of the engineering work, so shipping features like analysis services for a long time. But in addition to helping customers succeed, one of the biggest parts of our role is to make sure that the teams that are building the features themselves, like the Power BI desktop team, the Power BI premium team, so a lot of the folks that you see presenting here at Ignite this week, we represent to them the challenges that our customers are facing, so that when we're helping a customer get on the clock, we might go back and say, they're using a feature in this way, but they're challenged because of this. Maybe there's a way to improve it so that other big customers don't have the same challenges, or things along those lines. One of the things that I've been working on recently is putting in place what we're calling the Power BI Enterprise Voice Customer Advisory Program. Getting our biggest and most, I want to say most interesting, so basically the customers that are going to have the biggest challenges because they're doing so much with Power BI, to get them engaged proactively as part of something of a virtual customer advisory board, so that rather than waiting until they have problems and engaging for that we can have the relationships and the ongoing conversations, so that when we know these are the things that might keep you from going from 5,000 monthly active users to 50,000 or 100,000, what is it that's missing or isn't working quite the right way, and again, taking this information back to the engineering teams that are actually building features to solve the enterprise challenges. And you're familiar with our user voice channel, the ideas site. So this is going to continue to be a very valuable input. So if you're using Power BI Desktop or the Power BI portal every day, and there's something that you want changed, definitely send us an idea. But what we see is that the ideas that come in through that channel, because of the personas or the people that are giving us their input, it's just substantively different than the ideas that we would get from talking to someone who was the director for the BI Center of Excellence at a Fortune 500 company. They have different challenges, and we need to make sure that Power BI is the right tool for the analyst and the IT person, but also the right tool for the BI director.
Well, so you're really helping Power BI to be really scaled through these really massive organisations. So it must be touching pretty much everyone in the organisation. I'd always seen the CAT team as being parachuted in to really help those solutions, which are the really almost so sharp you can cut yourself in, bleeding edge.
So there definitely is a lot of that as well, and this is why I was speaking to the technical skills and experience of my teammates. We have skills on the team that very few people in the world have. So when we get called in, to solve the problems no one else can solve, saying that a little bit tongue in cheek, but we get called in to assist for some very difficult technical challenges. But the real impact that we make is when we're having the lighter touch, smaller engagements, and it's challenging finding that balance. If you think about the Azure CAT team as an example, they're a team of hundreds. We're a team of 10.
Oh my goodness.
So we scale through the Microsoft field. We've got TSPs, which is technical something professional, and there's these are deeply technical people that are around the world already working with customers. The biggest difference that we make is making sure that they have the resources and the knowledge that they need to be successful. And if we're there to step in and assist, that's great. But we don't scale in the same way that some of the others do.
Yeah, and I suppose as you move forward, because you are closing that loop, you're enveloping that customer feedback from that and back into the Power BI itself. So then it goes back out to the community and back out to customers as well.
Yeah.
So you're really closing the loop.
Yeah, very, very much so. We're closing the loop in multiple ways. So part of it is, we're helping make the product better. So we can communicate in a very clear and very personal way to the PMs who are updating. Like you're hearing about the aggregations feature and some of the scale capabilities that we're showing off this week. So a lot of those capabilities, even though we're not building them, it's the feedback that we're communicating. To let those teams understand these customers are trying to do these things with these data volumes and this configuration and these new challenges that they have. So the product gets better because of our involvement, and at the same time, we, like through Adam Saxton's Cube channel on YouTube, Casper DeYoung has an awesome blog. It's deeply technical, even though he doesn't have multiple updates a week like Adam does. We're trying to make sure that the community is aware of how to use Power BI the right way the first time. It's such a powerful tool that there are ways to use it wrong.
Absolutely, like most things.
Like most things, exactly.
So what kind of technical things are you working on at the moment? So I hear about this exciting news called Dataflows, which I'm desperate to know about.
So Dataflows are my personal area of technical focus these days. So I've been spending a lot of time with the Dataflows team and working with the private preview. So, and I should stress this, that as of today, the Dataflows capability is still in private preview. We have a couple hundred customers around the world that we're working with directly. They're kicking the tires. They're applying it for proofs of concept and providing feedback directly to us. We're preparing for a public preview, which we expect to arrive in October. And we're I'm very interested to hear what people have to say. So the thing that I'm so excited about is that if you think about self-service BI, just BI in general, the architecture for self-service BI doesn't have self-service for everything. So if you think about how most large organizations and their BI architectures are set up, there's the line of business systems, or the source systems that are producing the data, managing transactions. There's a data warehouse that is invariably built by IT and maintained by IT that solves data warehouse problems, like these well-known problems about the concurrency and standardization and consistency and cleanliness and quality and all these things. And then there's the analytics model, so the tabular models, the cubes, whatever it is, and then reports and dashboards built on top of that. And in self-service BI, Power BI and most self-service BI tools, they tend to focus on the reports, the dashboards, and the analytics models. But this means that in order for a business user, in order for that self-service BI user to actually serve themselves, either all of the data needs to be in the data warehouse already, or they need to wait for IT to update the data warehouse to add the data, or, and this is what happens most of the time in my observation, or those analysts, they will find the data somewhere else and they'll mash it up with the data that's in the data warehouse, but when they bypass that layer, they're essentially reintroducing, to whatever small degree, they're reintroducing the problems that the data warehouse as a pattern solves. And Dataflows in Power BI are a self-service data preparation capability that is powered by Azure Data Lake storage. So the actual data is physically stored in Azure behind the scenes, but the experience essentially lets a Power Query user, so it's the same Power Query engine and experience in the browser. So you go into the browser, you say new data flow, add an entity, where an entity is like a table that's backed by the Azure storage. So you create an entity, you build a Power Query that defines the entity, and when you save it and refresh it, it's populated with data. And just like a data warehouse or data mart or data lake, it is this stored, shareable, reusable data that sits between the source systems and the analytics model. And it shows up in the experience in the Power BI portal as another object type inside of a Power BI workspace. So you see reports, dashboards, data sets, and data flows. And it is securable with the workspace, but it's designed to be reused. So, one of the things that we've introduced recently is the shared data sets, where, it's good to be able to use a data set in multiple ways, but generally when you get into a data set, you've got a bunch of DAX and other business logic that's added in there. It's not inherently, it's not natively a data source. A data flow entity is, for all intents and purposes, a table. It's got columns, it's got data types, it's got some semantic information, but it's a table of data that you can then use as a data source. This is the standard flow. You use it as a data source alongside whatever other data sources you need when you're building out your data sets. So it sits there alongside the data warehouse and the data mart from a flow or stack perspective. But because they're designed for reuse, sharing them is built in. So it's something that's been planned and designed right from the beginning. And if you're an owner of a workspace, you can edit and modify and add additional entities or change the entities that are there. If you're a member of the workspace, you can read and work with that data. And one of the demos that I do pretty regularly has me consuming. So I'll build some data flows, land the data in the entities, and then I will build a report that pulls in one PBIX file. I'll pull in data from entities in multiple data flows and multiple workspaces, and then I will publish the PBIX file and its reports that I built into a third workspace, because everyone's like, oh, but they're in a workspace. Can I share them? It's like, yes, absolutely. And the thing that's most exciting to me, you can tell, how exciting. I don't hide excitement very well.
Ideas, actually.
My hair was gray when we started, and now it's purple with excitement. But the thing that's most exciting to me is that this is a tool that can be used by IT or by business. So anybody that can build a Power Query, anybody that has the permissions can do this. And it's so familiar. So it's exciting because it's boring. So I'm going to build this thing. Oh, it's Power Query. I know Power Query. And it's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use the data. It's an exciting new thing. It's like, oh well, it works just like any other data source. And I'm going to publish my stuff. It works just the way that you would expect. And yeah, it's good.
I love the idea. It's kind of really forgiving about what companies do. I'll tell you about one of my customers, and you'll probably hear it. They came up to me and they said, how can we tell where Excel has gone? And and I said,
So hard.
there's a question behind the question and I'd love to know why you're asking. So very dejected gentleman said, well actually we've had an issue where one person, one department rented data, put it into another Excel spreadsheet, and then it's somehow emailed it to someone that they shouldn't have done, and then it went outside the building and now it's on our website and we have to take it down. So the first lawyer's letter said take it off the website because they only rented the data, it didn't belong to them. And the second lawyer's letter said get that data out of your database.
The third one said, here's our court date.
The third one actually said you need to get the data out of all your backups because they were backing up the data around data centres for the last 30 days. So they had to remove this data from 30 days of backup. So actually the problem that you guys are solving, it just sounds, it's not boring, but something that everybody does, but the consequences of not doing it are horrifying. So when I spoke to this gentleman and all I heard was, we have to take out the backups, I just thought, guys, I can't help you, I really, but that was before this came along, so I can really see you would put that into a data pool and then you would only allow certain people to see it as per the agreement the rented the data from. The people that can't see it are not allowed to.
And there's actually even more targeted or context appropriate capabilities than that. So I want to stress as well that I don't understand the full nature of this scenario. So if anyone is watching, here's the disclaimer that you need to take care of your data compliance and regulatory issues on your own. I'm not a lawyer or a compliance person, so.
Yes, neither am I. And we're in the US and we don't deal with English law.
But there's two parts of the Dataflows experience that seem very targeted to this type of scenario. So the first one, from a where is my data being used perspective, this is at its root a data lineage and impact analysis problem, which is a very difficult, complex technical space that Dataflows makes much simpler. And the reason it makes it simpler is every Dataflow entity is defined by a Power Query. The only way that data gets into that entity is by the execution of that Power Query. So unlike a database table that could be inserted or updated or deleted by any authorized client at any time, there's exactly one way that the data gets populated in a Dataflow entity. So saying where did the data come from, you have an authoritative record right there, and one entity can pull data from other entities, which we'll get back to maybe later on, but that the fact that they're self-describing and self-contained and they're all managed by the Power BI service means that lineage and impact analysis and traceability story is dramatically simplified even for complex environments.
Yeah, and that's so important. I'm not a legal expert at all, but I just do what the lawyers tell me.
That's always a good thing.
It's always a good thing. Yes, stay out of trouble that way. But it's so important, and I think it's becoming increasingly more important. This data is becoming crucially important, as you know. We both live that life, we both see it all the time, how important data is. At the same time, it's to be protected. And I think organisations have to be adults with their data. And other people's data, and children's data, everyone's data.
And with the EU taking the steps that it has, organizations that have known all along that they needed to be adults with data, now there is a little bit more teeth behind that need.
The sense of this, and I suspect one day it'll eventually come into play here as well. So where do you think, I think it'll maybe a few years down the line, where do you think Power BI data is going to go?
So first of all, you may have noticed my alarmed face. So no, it's all good. I
just want the sneak preview of what's coming up.
Obviously, until it's publicly announced, there's no dates, there's no features. This is not an announcement or a reveal. But Power BI is moving to be the enterprise enterprise and self-service BI tool from Microsoft. So you know that we're already built on top of this enterprise BI platform. You know, our data sets are tabular models, where we've announced that we're opening up the XMLA endpoints for our data sets so that you can manage them using whatever tools or connect to them using whatever tools, including third-party BI tools. So, you know, in theory, you could have a Tableau report built on top of a Power BI data set. So we're trying to make. We're trying to enable more scenarios by delivering more capabilities, focus both on the needs of the large customers, which includes oversight and governance and compliance and EIN and built-in lineage and blah, 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 while at the same time focusing more and more on what it is that the people who are, they just need to do their jobs, and having insights and information as part of their day-to-day jobs to make it easier for them as well. So I don't know where 3 years will take us, but I do know that the capabilities that we're announcing this week and the capabilities that we're working on now and that we're planning now to work on in the next semester of next year, they're really focused on the need to be both of those tools. And personally, I think that we're uniquely positioned to do that, given both the amazing skills that we have on the team as well as the technical heritage of Power BI.
Totally agree. I think Power BI really is for enterprises large and small, and it's very good to pick up. It's great to do very simple things with it, and then when you're on that roadmap, you can deal with much more complex enterprise environments as well.
It's difficult. It's difficult to have one tool to do a simple thing simply, and to do a complex thing well or simply. So it's certainly a journey, and it's obvious to anyone using Power BI that the experience that we have right now really becomes that self-service tool. So a lot of the announcements that we're making this week are really about that enterprise story. So both for scale, for the enterprise reporting, for more AI built in, so more insights over data that you might not have the chance to ever look at in person. The pixel perfect reporting through the integration of reporting services or RDL reports, and just making it so that the things that large organizations need to look to a different tool to do today, tomorrow, or next week, or next month, we want to have those capabilities.
Yeah, that's amazing. I wish sometimes we could live our careers again, because they all have it so easy now. These are problems we've been trying to solve in BI for decades. Now it feels like everything's coming together. I think that's such a good scenario.
So one of the most interesting things, I had not thought of this until you said that, but 12 years ago I was working with, so I was an independent consultant. I hadn't joined Microsoft yet, but one of my consulting clients was a technology supplier for food service. So if you go into a Burger King or a Pizza Hut or fast service or plus one, I don't know where pizza fits in, they would sell the cash registers. They're basically Windows XP machines, and they had the front of house cash registers. They would have a back of house machine to do like in-store reporting and so on. And I was helping to architect and guide their application service provider offering. I don't know if you remember this or not, that term, but basically we were building a system where if you were the franchise owner for 20 McDonald's, or if you were McDonald's corporate, just as hypothetical examples. So if you had that investment and you wanted insight into all of your stores, which simply wasn't available. And the things that we had to do in 2006 to build this system, to get the data from the stores to the data center, to aggregate and consolidate the data, to make sure that no customer's data was ever conflated with or stored with another customer's data. All of the multi-tenancy stuff, the data movement stuff, that today we could probably build it in a month.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it?
And the way that the platform has evolved, it's like it's a different world. You know, everybody was trying to solve and working to solve these problems that today you can solve out of the box. And if I had to do it all over again, I think that I would rather be here, because if you think about the problems that are really, really hard to solve today, 10 years from now, you know, the things that have us pulling our hair out on a Friday evening or a Monday morning, those are going to be the things that are the table stakes for any data platform that's out there.
Well, I think that's right. I can't wait to see what's happening next, and who knows what will happen between now and the next Ignite.
Lots.
That's probably. Well, thank you so much, Matthew, for your time. It's been a pleasure to speak with
It's
you.
been my pleasure and my honor, as always.
I always love speaking to you. You just had such a great day. This is a great excuse to be a community reporter, to get to interview and I get to see exactly what everyone's doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Have a great show.